Hello there, industry explorers. Welcome to an episode of How to Start a Career in. Today we are talking about the music industry and how to become a music producer. I have with me K-R.O.K. How you doing today, K-R.O.K?
Hey, I'm wonderful. How are you today?
Dude, I'm so fantastic. You are such a kind person. It was really great getting to know you prior to this meeting. And, as I understand
Thank you.
it, becoming a music producer is a really tough thing. And you know what? Regardless of how challenging this path may be, I am just so honored to have you with us today to just give us some tips and tricks as to what it's all about. So, what is the music industry as a whole? Like, what is all involved in it? And then we'll zoom into what it means to be a producer.
Okay, great. To answer your question, several things that's involved as far as the music industry. You have the creative side, which is you knowing the music. Then there's also the business side of you knowing the business behind the value of your music. And then another side could be just the marketing and promotion side, just knowing how to market music once it's packaged and ready to go. So yeah, there's few things just to just to know that's part of the industry. So.
Packaging, marketing, all those things. Now, as a music producer, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and say, what does it mean to be a music producer? And is it different depending on the genre of music that you're producing music for?
Actually, for me, I consider it as one category being a music producer or a record producer because our job is composing. We compose the music, we structure the music, and you can structure the music different ways. You can do it when you're in the room with the artists or the clients, as they call it, or you can just start from scratch normally because you have an idea. You're trying to get out what's in your mind um, sonically using keyboards or VSTs, which is virtual instruments or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, it fits all genres of music, no matter what it is, rock, hip hop, R&B, country, gospel, anything. There's music producers on all genres of music, even classical.
Now, as a music producer, are there multiple are there different types of careers that you could have as a music producer, or is it pretty much the same across the board?
It's pretty, from my experience being in the music industry, it's pretty much the same across the board. Nothing different.
Gotcha.
All it is just switching of genres. That's it.
For sure. Can you tell us about a project in the life of a music producer?
In reference to from A to Z, like starting from beginning all the way to the end, is what you're asking?
Pardon? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just distracted by a comment that came in. I think you'll appreciate it. They said,
Okay.
I literally just finished a trip from the mountains and was listening to the Bliss album.
Oh man, hey, I appreciate you for that for sure. That Bliss album was any PM Dawn fans know that that album was an album that changed the music industry as far as mixing rap with R&B. There wasn't too many people back then that was doing the singing, rapping whole combination. And then you fast forward now in life, every major artist you can think of are doing that. It's cool to sing and rap at the same time, because back then
Mhm.
MCs thought that was considered soft, but it's not. It's just music is a feeling. So whatever you feel, you should be able to express. It's freedom of speech.
Yeah, true that. So going back to the project in a life question, let's talk about a project in the life of you putting together
Okay.
the Blitz album. What was that like from start to finish?
Well, let me say this. So I came into the group later on, but I do have unreleased footage of what happened in the process. And basically, it's no different from every other record producer. You just basically go through samples, which is basically vinyls of other well-known musicians that came before you, and you kind of find different parts that you can loop. It can be a guitar, it can be a drum, it can be anything. So with the Bliss album and the way how my group does it, and I still follow this formula to this day, we always start with drums. So drums is the first thing we start with. Once we find the drums, then we'll find the melodic chords. It can be piano, it can be acoustic guitar, it can be an electric guitar part, anything. So that's how the creation starts. But definitely the drum is always first for us, always.
Drums first. And then when you add on the melodic pieces and the chord progressions, be it with acoustic guitar or piano, is are those two instruments what you use just to kind of find that melody, and then do you sub the instrument for like synthesizers or different instruments, or you create like a full-on um like composition that involves multiple instruments? I mean, I guess
Uh,
it depends on the album and the overall vision for the album and from the artist and all of that. It's sounds like a huge collaboration.
yes. So for me, I have this thing called the five. So my magic five is drums, piano or guitar, bass, um, synth, and sometimes strings. So that's how it usually works for me. And then the
Mhm.
secret I may do is I may use my mouth for like beatboxing or just humming things. Like I'll just hum random things, kind of put it through a program or something to change the octave to basically go along with the melody of the beat, the composition. Once that's done, then I'll begin the writing process. So that's how that usually works.
So the writing process, let's talk about some essential skills. Does that involve knowing how to read and write music?
No, see, that's where
Really?
people, yeah, see, that's where people have it misconstrued. Like I
Hmm.
said earlier, music is a feeling, right? So I always tell
Hmm.
people before you go into a studio, before you go into a studio session, or even the stage, you have to let self out the room and allow your higher power, because I don't know who believes in God in this chat, but I'm going to say your higher power, whatever you believe in, you allow that to come in the room. It's almost like your energy. It's your third eye, it's your alter ego. It's beyond who you are, on the face of this earth. So I will always say that let self out the room and your higher power to come in.
Hmm.
Once that's in, then you can kind of find your niche on how to create the music, how to write the music. But it doesn't have to be sheet music. I mean, if you know sheet music, fine. I know sheet music. But do I always pull out sheet music and write the notes? No, just basically hum out. Everything is just. You gotta have fun with it. You can't overthink it. The minute you overthink it, take a break until you come back and have a free spirit about it.
When you find that you're overthinking things and you got to take a break, what is your go-to activity or non-activity?
I'm sorry. Said it again.
When you find yourself overthinking and you've got to step away and take a break, what's your go-to activity?
To be honest with you, hiking.
Hiking. All right. Hey.
It's something about taking walks or hiking that gets you away from the now and takes you to
Mhm.
the unknown, right? I have a saying that goes, "We are redefining some science." So basically, you have to redefine yourself in order to be the science of life, the key of life, your own key of life. So I love to hike, I love to walk, I love nature. These are things that I do, and I love peace and quiet too. I'm not able to be myself all the way if I can't find that balance. In order for me to find that balance, you have to get your peace and quiet time. Some people it can be prayer, some people it can be working out. Me, it's just hiking. It's just going out in the middle of nowhere and just, you know,
Have you had some when you were trying to solve a problem or you were trying to get some inspiration, did you have moments while on your hikes that like just kind of it came to you?
oh, all the time. and,
Nice.
and by the way, I don't want people to think the only time I hike and walk is when I'm frustrated. It's not it, because I do it mainly for exercise thing and living long to prosper, as long as I can. But the
Mhm.
moments I am frustrated, yes, inspiration does come when I'm hiking. Because I'm able to, sometimes like you ask yourself why a lot, like why
Mhm.
this, why that. Well, I find my answers when I'm hiking.
Yeah, that makes
So,
sense. Your brain just
so
needs
ba-
some time to, like, turn off.
Yeah, and it humbles you. That's how I take it. It humbles you straight up.
So so then going back to the studio, you've gone through your samples, you started with your drums, got your melody, you started sampling things, putting things together. Now you're back from your hike. Things are starting to make more sense. You mentioned so you don't necessarily need to know like music theory. You don't have to know a very strict like this
Okay,
is are you
it
like, are
is
you
it is it
familiar?
is it is good to know some,
Mhm.
but in actuality, with all these programs we have now, virtual instrument programs and royalty-free sample loops and
Mm.
arpeggio chords and all this other stuff that these programs have, you really can just it's like a puzzle. All you got to do is just get the pieces, just put it together, and you have the complete picture. Truth be told,
Alright.
I preferably like to mix it up both of that sometimes, and then also going back to what I know, the old school way, which is actually playing instruments, because I do play instruments. I play drums, I play piano, a little bit of guitar, a little bit of harmonica. So
Oh, that's fun.
yeah, learn that from my grandfather. So these are things that it is good to know. So when you deal with these programs, instead of saying, "Oh, that sounds cool, I'm just going to use that," you can kind of manipulate that and say, "Nah, that doesn't sound right. Let me change it this way. Let me change it to this key or this octave for it."
Mhm.
However you want to do it. Again, music has no rules. I tell you,
This is true.
produce what you feel, but also know why you're producing what you're producing, because you never know. You can be in the studio, recording engineer or a label head, and they can say, "Hey, what key was that in? What key is that note?" Instead of you going, "I don't know," you can actually tell them. And these programs will actually show too. It'll say like A minor, B not minor, F sharp, G major, whatever the heck the keys in. It'll show you. But if it doesn't, research and find out what key is in. You know.
So so what are some of those essential tools? Because you've talked about the programs, right? And I'm sure there are several out there. What are some of
Yes.
your favorite programs to use?
Okay. Pro Tools, of course, because that's industry standard when it comes down to recording vocals or tracking out production, beats, whatever. But as far as post production, to get things straight to the point, and I'm gonna let the cat out the bag, Serato Studio is my go-to, and also Studio One. I love those two programs. I'm able to dump out my ideas pretty quickly, pretty fast, and when I'm done, I'll export my stems. And basically, if people don't know what stems are, stems is basically individual track outs of that whole entire beat. So like one stem would be drums, another would be piano, another would be synth, etc., etc. So I can take those stems and then create a session template into Pro Tools. And Pro Tools is another program, DAW, and DAW stands for Digital Audio Workstation. And I kind of dump everything into there. So if a beat gets sold or a song gets sold and the record company goes, "Hey, we need that Pro Tool session," I can send that session to them. But as far as post production and just me just getting my ideas fast and straight to the point, it's definitely Serato Studio and Studio One.
And when you are taking notes of any kind, do you have a go-to app that you like to use?
Uh, as in I'm singing or rapping ideas, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Um, I use my iPhone. I use the voice memo. And then I kind of like, you can send it as a text or email it to yourself. So I'll email it to myself, play it in my loudspeakers in my studio, and kind of just vibe out and write around that. Yep.
Do you ever, when you're just walking on the street, do you ever just sample like a sound and
All
then
the
use that
time.
sound
All the
later?
time. I'll sample people walking. I'll sample people laughing. I'll sample random loud noise. I'll sample birds, air, raindrops, in which my good colleague Timberland, he does the same thing. Like this raindrop you hear, he sampled that in Aaliyah 1 in a Million. Stuff like that. Like real producers know we sample everything that's sound.
I
Doesn't
think
matter.
I
It could
think
be
in
lightning
I
for
was
G's sakes, you'll sample it.
Yeah, I think I was watching a behind the scenes with Billie Eilish and her brother, and they were talking about her song "Bad Guy," and one of the key components of that track is actually when you're walking across the street and you've got like that sign, you click the button so you can walk across the street. It's like
Right,
whatever beep
right.
that makes, they actually like they recorded it and distorted it in their program, but then that's part of the song, the
I'll tell you
boom
the
boom
craziest thing
boom.
that I've sampled. When you start up the car, you
Yeah.
hear a chime. I sampled that.
Oh, nice. Which car?
I have quite a few, but Mercedes. I have a G wagon and also have a little C class in this garage here. But my point is, you start up the car, you hear the chime. I'll sample that. Like stuff like that. Anything that's considered noise or
Yeah.
sound,
Well,
I'll
I mean, that
sample.
makes sense. Even the car chime makes sense because someone engineered that sound and
Yeah, they programmed
they
that
put a lot
sound
of
and made
thought
it.
into that. Even if
Right,
it's just a chime, whether it's for your washing machine or your dishwasher or your car, like people actually engineer those sounds because they want you to feel a certain way when you're using that application. That makes total
right.
sense. And it's kind of cool to me that you would sample that and potentially put it in
You
your
know,
music.
yeah. And you know why I do that is because as a record producer, you always want to be ahead of the game. You always want to have something that either someone hasn't done,
Hmm.
or if you super are a sound programmer, program your own sounds to the point where no one has never heard it ever in life. Now, do I know how to do sound programming? On a scale of 1 to 10, about a 7. So yes, I'm not a extreme master of it, but if I sit down for a whole day, I can program my own sound. Like I can just make weird stuff. But that takes time in itself. So
And that sounds like a quite the challenge with the just the years of our history where we've been making music, and now with in today's world where we have all these tools and everything is digitized. Yeah, making your own unique sound. What a unique challenge to anybody who wants to get into this business. Can you explain your Twitter handle? Because you explained it to me in private, but I want everybody to hear like what it actually
well,
means.
well, both Twitter and Instagram, both because it's the same at name. So I've heard people call it Neves. I've heard people call it Neve Cecile, just weird, like weird things, right? But it stands for Neve SSL U47 K-R.O.K. So Neve is a preamp, okay? It's a preamp that I use 1073, a 3-band EQ preamp. SSL is a console in which I have in my private home studio. And then U47 is the name of a microphone from the company called Norman. I have a vintage one from 1957. And then K-R.O.K, of course, is my name. But of course, on these handles, you could put the hyphen in. I think you could, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to confuse people. But that's basically what it means. So now everyone knows.
I'm not gonna lie, it's the right mixture of like cool and nerdy to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
when you're
I
sampling,
am a tech geek for sure when it comes down to music gear and just it's something about the knobs, the smell of the gear, whether if it's vintage, new, whatever. It's just I get excited. It's my toys. Like if I had a choice between my luxury vehicles I own or other
Hmm.
things that are high possessions in my gear, I'll choose my gear any day. If you leave me on an island, I'll take my gear with me, some cool snacks, some alkaline water. I'm good.
So, so gear. Do you go to Nam by chance?
No,
Do you go to any
and it's
conferences
weird.
or
And
trade
it's weird.
shows?
People go, "What? You don't go to NAM?" Reason why I don't go to NAM is because they're always creating new things every year, every 6 months, whatever. And I'm not a fan of always getting new things every time. I feel like
Hmm.
whatever tools that God has manifested upon you in front of your face, and let's say that's all you could afford at that time, right? To have, use it to the best of your ability and make money from it. Make millions of dollars if you can, or teach people, or whatever you're utilizing the tools for, right?
Hmm.
And that's it. But under no circumstances do you constantly go to NAM every year because you're always trying to buy the new thing. By then, you keep buying all this new stuff, you won't have time to create and focus, right? So I like to hold on to vintage gear for years and learn it. Even if I felt like I mastered it, you still find something that you can learn. So I'm always a student of life and gear. So you probably won't find me buying any more gear for the next 10 to 15, maybe 20 years, you know. The only thing I will upgrade is Apple computers because unfortunately when you upgrade your software, some software don't work because you need the latest OS, and the OS don't work because you need the latest Apple computer. These things
Hmm.
happen. So with me, with Apple computers, I switch them out maybe every 3 to 5 years max.
Yeah, that makes sense. When it comes to networking and breaking into the industry, where should people go? Where do you meet people who are also in the music industry? Is specifically if you want to be a music producer, where
Dude,
do you go meet
honestly,
people?
what we have in our hands, phones, social media,
Yeah.
you'll be surprised who actually responds to whatever inquiry you may have or questions, comments, concerns about the music industry or how to break in. I know for me, like when I was getting started before the internet, it was going to recording studios
Hmm.
and handing your demos to people that you knew was in the studio. If that didn't work, if you had a cool paying job, book some studio time, make some music, and someone else that's an A-list celebrity is going to hear your song, they're going to come to your studio session and say, "Hey, whose song is that? Who produced that? You did that? That's you? Hey, you know what? When you're done with this session, come to my room. Let's work." Now you just got a placement. Now you're getting your foot in the door. But if you don't take that route, nowadays, neighbor, sorry, nowadays, you just pick up your phone, go on Instagram, go on Twitter, go on Facebook, and just message or leave
Hmm.
a comment or something under someone's picture. Long as it has nothing to do with tragedy, because you got to be respectful. But if it's a normal post, just say, "Hey, I like what you're doing. I support you." And then they'll see that and eventually they'll follow you. And then when they follow you, DM them. Say, "Hey, look, I appreciate you following me. I was curious. I was wondering, do you need production? Do you need vocals, whatever, for a song? I would love to work. I'm trying to get into this industry and make a mark and in this business." And people will respond. I know for me, I do. If somebody hits me up and it makes sense, I'm gonna help them out. I'm gonna give them a chance. Because someone gave me a chance, so I can do the same for anybody.
Hmm. It sounds like a big part of this industry really is putting yourself out there and getting to know people and just hoping that at some point you're at the right time, meet the right person at the right place.
But you have to put yourself out there in the industry, because whether if it's the music industry or any type of industry you want to do, it could be a regular job, whatever. It doesn't come to you. You have to go out there and get it. So everything is about who you know and you
Mm.
being knowledgeable of what you know. And the things that you
Mhm.
don't know, ask questions. But never ever, if someone says, "Okay, you know, if you let's say you're in the studio session, right? And you lie and say, 'I know how to mix a song,' but you don't know how to mix a song, you just lost your job, right? Because you wasn't honest. So you have to be honest with yourself. And if you need help, ask for help. Like your yes be yes, your no's be no's. But again, everything in life is all about who you know. That's how you get in. That's how I get in. That's how you got into the business you're doing. This is why we're here.
So I've got to ask, because of the demographic that this show is for. I speak for, or I speak to high school students who are trying to figure out what to do. Um, is this one of those career paths that requires a college degree, or does having a college degree
Absolutely not.
help?
Absolutely not. I didn't go to college for this. And there's no disrespect for people that go to college. It's cool. Do your thing. But I didn't go to college for it. I didn't need to. It was just, again, who you know. You
Mhm.
see somebody that's already in the door, you just go to them and say, "Hey, look, I have these songs, or I do this, or whatever you're good at, and pitch yourself." And then they'll bring you in. There's nothing in record labels policies or recording studio policies that says you must have a degree in order to record here or to sign here to be a part of our rosters. None of that. You just have to be dope, which means talented. For those who don't know who
Yeah.
dope what dope means, but
Does that include
talented.
working for a does that include working for a really corporate place like the Universal Music Group?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, I know that they split it between grabbing kids that come from college or these Berkeley music schools or Full Sail or whatever the case may be. But then on the other side, it's again who you know. If you know someone that's A&R there, and then you guys just build a rapport, next thing you know, you're A&R there too, right? It's all
Mhm.
about who you know.
Are there any kinds of certificates or certifications that help you develop your skills or help you get noticed by people?
Uh, no, you just got to be good at what you know how to do. That's it. That's the truth. Like it's no, you don't need a certain certificate that shows, hey, I'm good at playing piano. I know musicians that are good at playing all instruments, but they can't stay on beat, which is very weird, right?
That is weird.
Um, yeah, it again, it's feeling. It's either you got it or you don't. You
Mhm.
can be the greatest musician in the world, but if you don't know how to do, let's say, hip hop beats, we can't do business, right?
Mhm.
Because it doesn't work. But I met artists and producers, but definitely producers that are trying to learn a business, but they know how to use a program. They know how to make a hip hop beat, and they get placements. And placements is basically getting a beat solidified with an artist and with a label in order in exchange for money and
Mhm.
royalties and stuff like that. So it happens, man. It's like I said, it's no rules.
So, a lot of jobs, a lot of career paths have like entry level positions, and you can work your way up to like a senior level position. When it comes to being a music producer, there may not be an necessarily an entry level position, but what I want to ask you is what does it look like as a music producer to start from the bottom, and then what does it look like to work your way up to the top? What
Well,
do
it
those 2 look
depends
like? What does
on
that
who's.
vertical climb look like for a music
Yeah,
producer?
there is a ladder in this. So it depends on who's putting you in a position to get to where you need to go. Because you can get your start working with a major producer or a publishing company or whatever, and they could just pay you up front and not give you back end, or they could not give you up front but give you back end, or you could not get nothing but just get credit, like drum programming credit versus producer's credit. So these things happen in the industry, which I don't agree with, because I feel like if you produce something, you should get paid your finder's fee for work for hire, and then your back end as far as your royalties, right? Whatever comes out quarterly, however the system is set up, per 3 months, which is quarterly. So yeah, there are definitely different steps in it. Now, another ladder could be you could get quite a few credits in the music industry, and then after you proving yourself of having X amount of placements with that particular record company, they could say, all right, the next artist that we bring to you, we want you to executive producer project. That's a totally different ballgame. Executive produce is not only just making a production like the beats, but also help assisting with the mixing, help assisting with the artist creative side, like the co-writing, everything. So that could fall into like executive producer. So there are different ladders, but yeah.
Would that also include when you're at a higher level? would part of your responsibility be coming up with artist collaborations? Like when you see Beyonce featuring Nicki Minaj or something like that, would that be part of a producer's,
Yes,
responsibility at a certain level?
yes, because well, producers automatically get writers credit. That's why they call us composers, right? We compose it because without the instrumentation, without the music, you have no song. I mean,
Mhm.
would you go to a concert and listen to an artist a cappella for 45 minutes to an hour? No way. You need the
I mean,
music behind.
unless it's, the Pentatonics, right?
Gotcha. I know
Unless
I
it's them.
couldn't. I'm falling asleep. I'm leaving. I'm doing something, right? But if the sonics, the music is behind it, right? Which is the composition,
Mm.
everything is complete. So regardless, it doesn't matter if it's 1,000. I don't care if it's a "We Are the World" Part 2 or 3 song. The producer always get their composition credits. They're always named in it, no matter what. May not be on the title of the actual song name, but if you look under the credits, definitely yes. If
How
if
many
they
credits
if
do
their
you have?
business is right, their paperwork is right, you're in there. Yes.
How many credits do you think you have?
To my name,
Yeah.
both released and unreleased, right? To collectively,
You've got a lot of songs that
oh my
are
God,
supposed to be
probably
releasing pretty soon,
75
right?
throughout my whole career, probably 75 as a producer. This is outside of PM Dawn that I can count. I'm sure it is a little bit more because were artists that were signed to labels at one point. Album just didn't come out. Unfortunately, they got dropped. Those things happen, and I'm not gonna lie.
Mm.
I had a lot of production that was like unreleased stuff that I've got paid for placements for labels. I mean, thousands of dollars, and the project just didn't come out, or the song may have leaked somewhere on YouTube. I just haven't had a chance to go on YouTube and just type in every song to see. Holy crap! This song that was once unreleased just got leaked.
Yeah.
Things happen. So
So, don't you have a lot of songs that are supposed to be coming out this year, right?
yes, more like projects. So I have quite a few. So I have an artist named K-R.O.K, who's from the group The Alcoholics, known as the Licks. We're working on a joint project with him and K-R.O.K that's coming
Mhm.
out in 2022.
Mhm.
They have a group called Vapors. A lot of people don't know this, so I'm saying this here. You got the exclusive. Yes, so I'm working on that joint project. And then another project I'm working on is a guy named Willie North Pole. He used to be signed to Ludacris's Disturbing the Peace label back in the mid 2000s. He actually got signed to Def Jam through Disturbing the Peace when Jay-Z was president at the time. So
Mm.
I'm working on his second album. We're doing that. And what else? Geechee Sway from Camp Low is another person. Him and I are doing a joint project. So yeah, that's like 3 projects. And then the rest of the stuff is just like singles for people, like, new signees to labels and stuff like that, that are coming
Mhm.
out. So pretty busy on a production end.
Yeah, no kidding. What are some of the challenges that you face when you sign a new artist to your label?
Well, first thing first, I don't sign artists to labels. I'm not
Okay.
saying I would never do it. I feel like well, people say I can do it now as far as starting a label because I could get a label situation through a major, but as far as a label deal, but I can rephrase it for you and say when I take an artist to a label, um, what's already developed is them finding their sound, right?
Mhm.
Um, some labels want you to sound like every other artist that's on a roster, whoever's hot on billboards. Me, I'm a lot different. I like to bring an artist to a label that labels have never heard, right?
Mhm.
But they can at least understand, you know. So it's kind of like the break even effect, you know. I've given the labels what they wanted as far as producing for their artists. In exchange, I may bring an artist that they never heard of to them and make it a win-win situation. So you have to give something in order to get something in a
What does it
positive way.
mean
Let me say that.
what does it mean to have like a gold record and a platinum record?
It's a beautiful thing. Um, It's really a beautiful thing, but it's like a drug. You want more and more and more and more and more, right? Until you get burnt out. But I mean, it's beautiful. It's my diploma for me. That's what I say. It's my college diploma.
That is
Um,
your yeah, there you go. That
yeah,
you know what?
it's my college diploma, as I would say. But um, yeah, I mean, it means everything. It's just it's a memory. It's basically a memory bliss. It's something that you remember that will forever be there. That's indebted in your soul. That's a piece of you. Even if you leave this earth, it is still here for others to respect and enjoy and appreciate it. Yeah.
And how do you earn one?
You can earn one by three things: working hard, praying that the record company actually would take your song as a single or it'll land on the album and it will come out. And the
Mhm.
third thing, praying that that artist promotes because without promotion, I mean, no one won't know what the song is or the album is. So the more promotions, the better.
And
That
it's based on
helps.
how many, like, copies sold?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. So we are no longer in the CD stage, of course.
right.
Vinyls are semi starting to come back, but that's more of a collector's edition. Everything is digital, so it's all about the digital sales from and streams like your
Mhm.
titles, your Spotify's, your Apple Music, your Google Plays, even SoundCloud is getting into the game. So the more of those streams, the better that it'll equal to X amount of units sold. And for people to understand what that number is, there's a website called the RIAA.com, which is the Recording Industry Association of America.com. They actually would tell you on their site how many streams you need to be considered gold and platinum and diamond and the whole nine.
What was that website again? RAI
RIAA.
RIAA.com.
Yep.
I'll have that scroll at the bottom here for a little bit. RIAA.com. Nice.
Yes.
So, I really like that analogy you made that your gold records that you earn are the equivalent to like a college degree in your mind. Like that's right because people equate having a degree as a ticket to success, as something that you have to have in order to be considered successful. But clearly, I mean, you didn't have to have that in order to be a successful person. And
No.
I'm all about challenging the status quo. I love people that challenge the status quo. So,
Right. So I
kudos
like
to
to break
you.
rules. Okay. So here's the thing. I like to break rules because in life there's no rules. Rules are only made by a group of people that decide to just put a cap on people's abilities in life, and it's I call it population control to me. It's like, who am I to set rules to you? I am no maker. I do not own you. I do not I have not created you. I can inspire you, I can influence you, but I am no master to you. We are all one, no pigmentation are better than another. So who are thy to rule over you? Vice versa to from you to me. So at the end of the day, like, if you do something and you accomplish something because it feels good for you, not because of what naysayers say, not because what friends or family tell you you should do, right? Because people tell you opinions based off 9 times out of 10, based off things that didn't work for them, right? The
That's
one
very true.
percenters
Yeah,
that
people
tell you
project a lot.
opinions that work for them is because they're actually doing it, right? They're actually super succeeding from. And those
Mhm.
people are the people that will only tell you if you ask, not to tell you because they just want to be a-holes about it, right? That's not cool. But like I said, if you accomplish something, whether you get a certificate or something, whatever the case may be, it could be music industry, from like Full Sail or from like Berkeley, anywhere like that, to a regular corporate job, whatever it is, whatever certificate you get, you feel good about it because you did it for you, not because for other people.
I love that. I love your
Thank you.
mentality. I love all of your philosophy that you've shared with us today. I want to
Thank
go
you.
back to one more question that I had when it comes to essential skills. We started talking about tools that you use, and we started talking about the digital programs that you use. I actually want to ask you, what are some tools that you use to record your sounds when you're sampling those random sounds on the street? Do you just use your iPhone? Does that take good enough quality
Yes,
samples,
yes.
or do
I
you have
use it.
like a microphone that you carry around with you?
No, some people can use microphones. So, like, you know how reporters use like the little, it looks like a box that has a mic on it. They may use that, but for me, I use my iPhone. iPhone is just as clear as possible. I can take that, email it to my email at MP4. I think that before, and then I'll take that, dump it in my program, kind of manipulate it with different type of plugins. Or if I don't like using the plugins to manipulate the sound, I just store it through my console to kind of EQ it a little bit, then rethrow it back into the program, and then use other plugins to have it just the sound that I want and kind of build around it. So that's how that works.
Gotcha. And then when it comes to so there's different kinds of credits you mentioned that you can have with a song, whether as a producer or maybe you only get partial credit because you're like just get a drum credit or something. How do you protect your intellectual property? How do you protect your creativeness? How do you protect what you produce and prevent people from essentially stealing something that you put together and worked hard on? But if you put it out into the internet, how do you protect yourself?
See, that's the thing. That's why I never. That's how I never put beats on SoundCloud and other stuff because people can rip your intellectual property. See, what people don't understand is that many you upload your beats on YouTube, SoundCloud, there is a disclaimer, right? That's a little bit under the DCMA Act. There's a disclaimer that basically says that if you upload any type of audio, that they have the right to basically distribute whatever the audio is to millions of people around the world, right? So use at your discretion. So if you don't copyright your beats, I mean, it is what it is. Somebody you're in a situation where somebody can steal it, make music off of it, or copy it the whole nine. Then you have to take the person to court and all this other stuff. Me, if you never heard the beat before, you won't know. So I don't even worry about that. But I only submit my beats only to, of course, record company A&Rs that I deal with directly, or if I'm playing it in front of the artist, and then we kind of start business from there. Now, if they want to buy the production beat, of course, I have my entertainment attorney send them a standard agreement as far as my terms and conditions, along with the price up front, and then what I expect on the back end, which we call points. And yeah, that's that. So those out there who just want to put their beats out on the internet with no wording on it, no lyrics or anything like that, no singing or whatever, just kind of be careful. And even if you put some a composition out, that's a full song, copyright it immediately before you put it out. There's Music Library of Congress. I believe they're still out in DC. Definitely pay
Mhm.
that $40 fee. Do not do poor man's copy. I don't care if no one says that shit doesn't work, doesn't fly. Actually pay the fee, get it in the system so you're good. If you don't have a publishing company like ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC, preferably BMI or ASCAP or the best. CSAC is based on invites. You have to be invited to get in that. But BMI and ASCAP sign up for that. BMI is free. That, from my understanding, it's free because I've been there for years, like almost 17 years. But ASCAP, I know there's a small fee you have to pay with them. Either or, whoever you go with, make sure you register the song with them. So if it gets leaked on the internet, they pull all that royalties because they're for profit. They'll pull all those royalties or streams and stuff and combine it into one statement quarterly to pay out to you.
Gotcha. Um, Damn, that was a lot of really, really important advice that I think everyone needs to hear. And hopefully, whoever's watching the replay of this, I hope they make it this far because if nothing else, that section was probably the most important thing of this whole live stream.
Yeah, you gotta protect your music is art. You gotta protect your art. Okay, you can't let no one take your intellectual property and just play Robin Hood with it, or you know,
Yeah.
swiper no swiping me type of effect. You don't want that, right?
Mhm.
You want to protect your art because that's your bread and butter. That's your life. Have I been in positions before where my music has been on something and it wasn't protected correctly? Yes. Have I sued the person and won? Yes. But who
Damn.
wants to waste a couple of grand with an entertainment attorney, then and then it dragging out, and then hoping that you win. So when you win, not only you get your money, but then you still owe your attorney whatever leftover fee, but court costs the whole nine. That shit is annoying. So in order to avoid
Mhm.
all of that, be careful before you post your stuff. You know, if you're gonna
Yeah.
post it, copyright first, then put it out.
Yeah. How long does it
And then
typically take
timestamps for
to
everything too. Not to interrupt. Timestamps for everything too. When you make a beat on
Yeah.
a program, if you know this, documents, whatever, it timestamps the second, the hour, the day, all that. Like it's timestamps. So that's another proof that shows that hey, you were the creator of it. So make sure that your computer never crashes or your hard drive. Save everything because that's your second proof as well. But still need to copyright everything. Yeah.
That is, again, seriously, amazing industry insight. Thank you for sharing that with us. I had a couple other questions that popped into my head during this interview. One of them being when how first of all, how long does it take to get a song from start to finish?
Ooh, if it's hip hop, I'm not gonna lie to you, about 2 hours.
Mhm.
Um, hip hop
But
is
you've got
just
something that's
it's.
not coming out until 2022.
Say what again?
You've got something you said you have an album that's not coming out until 2022?
Oh, you mean a joint project? I thought you meant as far as if I'm doing it for me. If I'm doing it for me,
Both.
it's different. If I'm doing it
Okay.
for other people, every writer is not the same. Some people they just need to go. It's weird. Do their original
Mhm.
ritual of smoking weed and shit outside, wherever they do.
Yeah.
Some people may need to just take a break, watch TV, or play video games, whatever they do before they write. So everybody has different rituals. But I know for me, if I'm focused from making a production beat all the way down to recording, that's definitely 2 hours. If it's R&B, that's gonna take about 6, 7 hours. If I'm doing it from start to finish, because it's a lot of like not only creating a melody, but it's a lot of stacking vocals, like as far as harmonies and takes and riffs, and that takes
Mhm.
time. You know what I mean to get it as a masterpiece. If it's rock and roll sessions, which I've done before, those can take a couple of days because you can have three different drummers in there that's playing three different type of drum parts. You got to pick the best one. Then you're gonna have a guitarist that's gonna play all these guitar parts so you get the best one. Same thing with somebody on keyboards, and it's just yeah,
Mhm.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Those are the more expensive sessions,
Gotcha.
recording sessions. Yeah.
And people I are people able to reach out to you if they want to schedule a session or have you mix their sounds?
So yes. So here's my thing. I have a studio here in my home. It's by invite only. Because I do a hard filter on who I deal with and stuff. Got to make sure there's no one that's not crazy. Because
Guys, I
one
had to
now,
be vetted before this interview.
huh?
I'm just telling our viewers I had to be vetted before our interview.
Yes, and yeah, and it was no pun intended. It's just it's just you got to be careful who you deal with. But
Absolutely.
not only have my own private studio here in my home, but I also work at other studios out in Hollywood too, in LA. So either or, it doesn't matter, depends on who I deal with, but they can definitely reach out to me for studio session. If not, because they can't come to travel to me because maybe because of pandemic reasons or just their budget reasons, you can always pay me for whatever my fee that I charge for that service, in which I'll tell you that in a bit on camera. And I can remotely produce a beat for you and send it back to you. You can cut vocals where you are, send it back. And if you need mixing, because I also mix as well, I can mix your song,
send it back. So there's
Nice.
different ways. I mean, you can be in person or you can do the technology way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys, that information, I believe, is down here at www.krocktheproducer.com. Okay, I got it down. Here's for you guys. And make sure you subscribe to Industry Explorers. Leave me a comment, DM me on any of my social media platforms if you want me to take on another career that you want to learn more about. Maybe something else in the music industry. I don't know. You guys tell me. I'm here for you. K-Rock, thank you so much for being here with me. I sincerely appreciate it. And
Thank you.
do you have any
Honored.
other last minute thoughts that you want to leave our viewers with?
Yes, the world is yours and everything in it. Work hard, believe in yourself, never let someone tell you no. And always remember, we are redefiners of science. Okay. That's my theory, some I came up with, but it's used for everyone that's willing to take it and utilize it to explore life. That's it. And thank you, Shauna. Very interesting. Yes, thank you.
You guys heard it here. And thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you on our next adventure. Take care, explorers.